Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue to unpack some supposedly classical China Euros concept. And today we're going to talk about Chen. You can see simplified, traditional, and 2000 years ago. They kind of come to the same vein. Nothing get added or removed for the most part. Okay. Normally I would just unpack things from 2000 years ago because that's the most revealing and also closer to the origin and tells more of the story of the details of how ancient language creators construct this concept. Chen, I translate it as a palace, but it has a pretty interesting meaning changing journey. It end up meaning palace because that's the most commonly used meaning. But before then, it was eaves, just like it means emit eaves back then until particularly the palace eaves, and we use eve to mean the whole residence of the emperor, and it's associated with Taoism because Taoism is the I guess the philosophy, one of the branches of the philosophy from China that mostly care about metaphysics. Metaphysics is about our relationship with the beyond our lifespan, beyond our location with the earth. It's kind of looking at the world from the universe, the whole everything out there, not just the human world. So it's kind of a transcendental, right? So Taoism's concept eventually narrow band this character from eaves, or there is another alternative meaning, means deep household, from either meaning, either the roof or the whole place. That's a spacious living condition, right? It's luxury space, I guess. Then it was narrowed down to emperor because emperor simply has the biggest house in the nation, right? Back then. So it was like narrow to palace only. And this Taoism construct the concept of Chen, which is the same sound as that. And this Chen has two meanings. One is it means for agrarian society, it's more practical. It's not just Taoism. It's simply the lifestyle back then. For agrarian society, Chen is the lunar calendar March. And that's the time when things start to grow, things come back to life from the winter hibernation. The farmers start to take action. And this Chen in the middle have this, I would unpack it as such. Okay, this top left corner frame means high ground, and we have low ground, which is top bottom corner. And then two horizontal lines is heaven and earth. That's our boundary of existence. And then we have kind of a foot symbol. The foot symbol here is the big toe, and then you have the rest of toes, and this is supposed to be the pinky toe. But somehow this one extra diagonal line was added. That's a mystery to me. I haven't seen that somewhere else, so I'm not sure what that stroke means. But this is the right foot symbol. And right foot by itself means standing still, because we have moving through space by adding three strokes to show you the footstep, the tracks of your moving space. And that's walking in action. And foot by itself is in action. It's not moving, standing still. And this diagonal line added could be someone here to show it's not standing still, it's moving. You're particularly probably moving your pinky toes. Okay. Anyways, a sideline thing, a tangent idea is when you do yoga, right? At the end, you kind of do this lying down flat. And then when the instructor tell you to come back to life, kind of, right? From your standing still, from your stillness, is start to move your fingers and your toes. That's the way to reactivate your nervous system. So come back to life, kind of ish. And so here is like moving your pinkies. Okay. So that instead of just standing still, my interpretation here is like real time imagined interpretation is moving your pinkies, like moving your toes. So things start to move. Instead of a complete stillness, you're coming back to life. And that's between heaven and earth. You can see this is like a below earth. So this is things start to move underground, just pinky toe-ish, small movement. All right. And that paired with this high ground means high ground almost like the boundary of our natural environment next to human living quarters. And so when you see, it gives you the sense of the landscape out there. It's not exactly mountain, but it's simply somewhere elevated. You can see that instead of a heaven and earth kind of abstract, right? This is your local topography. You have some high ground there, and you realize things underground start to move. And that whole concept here is the lunar calendar year March, when things are starting to grow, when the yen energy start to come back. And this growing paired with this roof, this arch with a chimney on the top, that's a private space, is like a thriving household. Another interpretation of this Chen is everything out there, the outer space, the sun, the moon, the stars. That's, I guess, not only Taoism, but everybody with eyes can see that's the basic conceptualization of how our outer space is before it can go fly out there, before it can see Earth back, looking back at the Earth. When we can only see outward, standing on Earth, then the three major things we see. And I guess this is not Taoism unique, but because Taoism spent a lot of time thinking about the universe, thinking about our position in the universe. So eventually they associate this character to be the stars, everything out there, all the celestial bodies. So the second reading of that is instead of a lunar calendar year when things are starting to grow, this is the outer space. You have the outer space next to your shelter. And my interpretation of it end up as being eaves, this concept, or deep household. Okay, I guess deep household means bigger space household, shelter, could relate it to things are growing, right? It's almost like your family size is growing. You have different generations and your siblings all living under the same roof. Like your household is growing, your population within that household, your household size is growing. So your house have to grow as well. So this deep house is related to the lunar calendar year. And I guess that's the ancient dream life. If your family are going to thrive and multi-generation and everybody living together, you have a huge household. That was the ancient, not American dream, but ancient fainted Chinese dream, like that. And the second version would be the Taoism version that have the universe next to the household. And that's Eve's concept. And that means my interpretation would be Eve's is the closest place in your house that's close to the stars. And we use that to signify, kind of remind us our connection to the universe. We have a private shelter. True that. We kind of cover ourselves from the natural element, but at the same time, we don't want to cut off from the sense, the energy, the inspirations, or the awe we get from the universe. So Chinese put a lot of thinking and the decoration and the design into the Eve design. You can see they have this flying, upward turning rooftops. that kind of signify the sense of from the Taoism thinking that we individuals have a sort of connection to the universe, and that shows on our eaves. Okay, so 成语 palace eaves. I translate it as roughly as a protection because 成语, well, both actually means eaves. They have the sense of shelter. They have the sense of, you're away from the natural elements. So they give you the sense of protection, even if the eaves design is try to retain this connection between individual and the universe. Okay, 陈飞 is simply a way to say 宫门. 宫门, everybody in Chinese know, who know Chinese would know 宫门 would mean the palace gate. But 陈飞 is a fancier way to say palace door. 飞 means door. The front face, it's almost like when you open the door, you don't see what's inside at all. And fei is kind of like a book cover. When you open a book, you don't see the first line of the story yet. You have some leaves that's kind of cover within the cover. So fei is similar. Only deep household would have this design. For an average person, you open the door, you see their living room, something like that. But for more expensive household, I guess back then, when you open the door, you wouldn't see anything. There will be a 影墙, like something block your view. You can still enter, but you cannot see. All right, that's Chinese fancy way to say the palace door, because eventually Taoism made this Eve concept or this deep household concept, narrow it down to the palace only. Okay, 陈 hat means long, stiff feather, which is a plume. And Chinese somehow associate a plume with writing. There, I have this big question mark because we know in the West, before we have pen, plume, dip into ink would be the writing tool back then. But how come, like Chinese use brush and ink? Why we associate plume with writing? That's a mystery for me. Okay, I don't claim I know. But somehow I was associated with writing, and because Chen becomes palace. So this palace writing becomes, the empress writing only. So this, I guess everybody can become an author, everybody can write. Not true that, the literacy level back then was not as high. So only a minority, I guess, privileged ones who can get access to knowledge, to learning, to read and write. And among those privileged, the most privileged one, most special person would be the emperor himself. And if he has handwriting of something, that will be regarded as Chen Han, is a special out of the special kind of writing record. So here we go. A Chen, the palace.